These days, the open world can be considered a genre in and of itself. You can find exact simulations of real-life towns and countries, large fictitious stretches with their landmarks, complete world to explore, or even entire galaxies, depending on where you choose to go on your next open world gaming journey. In this video, we will tell you 10 things that only open world gamers can understand. But before that, don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell button to be notified whenever we publish a new video. Number 10. Surrounded by infinite oceans. An infinite ocean surrounds the world. A peculiar feature of many open-world games is that there is nothing outside the boundaries of the world in which you live. However, games like Grand Theft Auto 5 are supposed to take place in an alternate version of California. It's not even close to another piece of land. There is no indication of a larger world out there. You board a plane, take off, and fly over an endless sea. It's similar to breaking up the map's boundaries, but the game lets you do whatever you want. This one is mainly limited to the GTA games, but they're also the most popular open-world games of all time. A few others have open oceans all around the game, such as Just Cause, but they're all set on small island locations. Number 9. The difficulty of not killing NPCS. Even in games where you're supposed to be a good person, like GTA 4 and San Andreas, it's nearly impossible to get through the game without colliding with a vehicle. It's very horrible. Who's cool with driving through a crowded sidewalk to get through traffic a little faster? In the real world, that would make you a monster, but the story continues. These open-world games have a story to tell, and they won't change it just because a player wants to go on a cathartic rampage now and again. But it can lead to some dissonant moments. The fact that in many open-world games, it's more difficult to avoid killing innocent people. It's merely a game of bluffing. Number 8. Wanted Lives, The Escape. Do you understand what we're talking about? The cops had pulled to all the stops to get you. They shot on-site helicopters and armed cars, and you wanted it at level 5. No holds are allowed when the government arrives in tanks. These individuals are looking for your demise. Then you exit in the red zone and hide for a few seconds, at which point everyone gives up. It makes no difference how heinous your actions were, as long as you're outside that circle and wait a time, you'll be let off. Even if you were apprehended or killed, they will just let you go with a bit of SWAT on the river, some hospital expenses, and the confiscation of your weapons, and you will be free to leave. This isn't only something that happens in GTA games. It's virtually every open-world game you can think of. Number 7. The search for useless collectibles. With this, and sometimes hundreds of collections, they have the attention span of a hummingbird. It's simple to see your character being easily sidetracked by almost everything. Remember how Assassin's Creed, one of the souvenirs, was to wear feathers? He has a legitimate purpose for putting them in there. In many cases, they assist him in catching the Riddler, but it's a lot of fun. It puts us in the mind Batman fumbling around in an open environment, like in the middle of a hostage situation, attempting to solve a physics puzzle. There are other games with the same useless content. Number 6. Hero Irony. Many open-world games begin with almost nothing when the hero needs to do everything. And he had to do everything, including collecting items, filling out the map, hunting for food, crafting weapons, obtaining collectibles, and so on. Why do Assassin's Creed characters need to unearth a map of London when the game is set in a relatively current setting? You'd think they'd know the overall layout of London, and they'd have a hunt animal like in the Far Cry games. This is a problem in almost every video game, the games. It would be unusual if you, the player, weren't involved in making things happen and propelling the story ahead, but some games go crazy with it, and it's believable if someone's character has had an impact on you. Number 5. All the bugs. They tend to be a little buggier than other games because they attempt to mimic a vast-scale world for you. Specific problems are almost exclusively found in open-world games, at least when they're first introduced. They have some of the funniest and strangest ones around. Open-world games can be some of the most unstable and buggy games out there, as the mutant children of Assassin's Creed Valhalla see it. It can be irritating, but it can also be a lot of fun if you're lucky. Number 4. Cops Teleportation. Yeah, it's one thing when cops give up looking for you, but it's another when they find you right away. It's all about gaming here. If you go out into an open-world field in the middle of nowhere and fire a gun, someone will teleport behind you and start shooting at you. Games like Red Dead Redemption 2 and GTA 5 are notorious for this. We barely tried to hide the fact that it was simply teleporting police to your area when you committed a crime. And who could forget the Skyrim core guards materializing through doors? Number 3. Time stops solely for you. Almost every open-world game encourages exploration, but many stories include a time constraint or a ticking clock. It's easy to spend hundreds of hours wasting time when the story tells you that you must do something right now. It doesn't matter what it is. This is true for every single open-world game ever made, but it's pronounced in Marvel Spice. However, the majority of people found it quite irritating. So, this is one of those good detours from reality that exists to make games a little less annoying. Imagine playing a game where you're always on a time constraint. It'd be highly stressful. Number 2. KLEPTOMANIAC Heroes. It's particularly awful in open world games where you accumulate stuff. We all do it, and it's never a good idea. It simply enters anyone's home, steals everything that it's fastened down, and then agrees to whatever quest they choose to assign you. It's almost if blatant robbery isn't mentioned at all. Most of it is garbage, but who knows? It's possible that you'll need it, or that you'll be able to steal it. It's amusing in games like Skyrim. The game's general nature allows you to pull off all of these ridiculous stunts. As in the old pothead method, blocking NPC's view enables you to grab everything you want. It's no problem. Have you ever done this in real life? The person would, I don't know, remove the pot from their head, but they'd stand there with everything on their head for the rest of their lives. Will you rob them gladly? Number 1. Clearing out a base to fill it back. It's less amusing and more oppressive and obnoxious. You spend time slowly and methodically clearing out an enemy base, then leave and return, perhaps to gather something you may have overlooked, only to discover that the area has been repopulated, requiring immediate action. Far Cry 2 is the most famous example of this, with checkpoints strewn across the terrain that you were essentially compelled to pass many times. If you wanted to get anywhere at all, this is the way to go. The bases would be refilled quickly at times, which made dealing with Far Cry quite inconvenient. Though 2 isn't the only game that does this, it's a good start, even while it's not quite as problematic to deal with in general. Knowing that methodically deconstructing a base is virtually meaningless because they'll have it back in an hour is a bummer. This isn't something that every open world game does, and it's not always a terrible thing when it does it, but it can be disheartening. Have you tried playing some of these games? And how do you find them? If so, do you agree that these things are only setups that only you can understand? What are your reactions to these 10 things that only open world games can understand? And also, what are your thoughts on this video? Feel free to drop your reviews and responses in the comments section below. And before leaving, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button for notifications on our future content. See you in the next video!